Hi, everybody. You are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. This is Zoph. And before we dive into anything, I have a disclaimer. Simply SCAdian, no title required is not endorsed by or affiliated with the Society for Creative Anachronism, Incorporated. The views of the hosts and guests do not represent the views, values, or policies of SCA Inc. That being said, I want to introduce my amazing co-host for tonight, Jalecia. Hi, Jalecia.
Hey, Zoph, how are you?
I'm great, and it's Purple Night, except our
It
guest.
is. We did not plan this. We just realized
No,
it when we got online. But thank you so much for having me tonight. I love this show and I love being on it. So thank you so much.
I am so glad you could be here. I'm going to switch around the order a little bit. There we go. Okay, go ahead and read our guest's bio, Jalecia. Are you ready to do that?
Yes, I have it right
I'm
here.
going to do
Okay.
geek girl stuff and make sure we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Song Qingzhao has been in the SCA off and on since about 1997. She is squire to Sir Conall McDale in Meridies. In total, she has been fighting for about 4.5 years with a 4-year break in the middle of her training. Her main weapon style is sword and board. She has been in Meridies her entire life, but has also trained in Atlantia for the past year and a half. Her other hobby in the SCA is putting knights on her back and squatting them. And she's done this with knights in 6 different kingdoms. We definitely want to hear about that. When she is not fighting, she's at the Bardic Circle or in the kitchen.
Welcome.
Hi.
It's so wonderful to have you here with us.
Well, thanks so much for having me today.
So you're not a newbie to being on these sort of SCA Zoom casts, I understand.
Right. I did the second generation show with Cal and Coffee with Cal. And I was also doing the Gulf Wars walkabout with Jarl Eladon.
That's all right. Well, so you're a pro at this. All right. The first question we ask all of our guests is, how did you find the SCA?
So my parents actually did the SCA. My parents did it from 87 to 91. And then they took a break and came back in about 97. And so I came along with them because I was 5. And I left and then came back when I was 21 and kind of made my own way from there.
Okay. Was there ever a time when you were growing up and you were trailing behind your parents that you thought the SCA was not cool? Because I always thought if I had kids and I tried to get them into science fiction and the SCA, they'd probably just, hate it.
No, my sister was. My sister wasn't a huge fan of the SCA, but I was always the one that always enjoyed coming to events and hanging out with all of my friends that I've made in the SCA.
Yeah. At that young age, what really attracted you in the SCA?
I was definitely always in the kitchen with I was lady in waiting to Mara's Kayla in Meridies. So I stayed in the kitchen a lot.
Okay.
So is that something that carries over into the modern world for you as well, the kitchen?
Not as much. I do a lot more like research in the kitchen. Like I do the A&S projects I've done have been dumplings and like steamed buns. So I like doing research on it and sharing my knowledge that way. But it's mainly SCA. I mean, I cook at home, but not as much as I do in the SCA.
Can you tell us about your persona?
Yes, my persona is Song Dynasty, which is about 900 to 1300 in China, Kaifeng, China. When I started out, I wanted to be my persona to be a Zaji musician, which is the opera performers, be a musician in the operas. But as I've gone through my journey, I'm getting a little bit later in Song Dynasty, into the Yuan Dynasty, and doing a lot more with the martial activities.
Yeah. Are you finding it's easier to find information about societies and cultures that are not European? Because I know years ago, people had a really hard time finding things. Is it getting easier?
It's definitely getting easier because there's a lot more Eastern personas that are doing a lot of research.
What drew you to that persona?
I did a study abroad in China in 2012. I lived in Nanchang, Jiangxi, studying international business. Also, I had three cousins that were adopted from China, two in Jiangxi and one in Wuhan.
Okay. Is that something you wish that the SCA had more of, more people pursuing personas that aren't European?
I'm one of those people that if it's your interest, yes. But it's just, do you want to dive that much into stuff that doesn't have as much resources as European?
Mm. Yeah. So you've got to be really dedicated to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As a Hungarian, I can tell you, I mean, having a Hungarian persona is a pain in the tush because I can't speak or read it. So
Yeah.
all of the research that I do, I just have friends who are Hungarian and I'm like, read this for me. Tell me what it says.
I did that with my friend in China as well. I was like, what does this say?
All right, so I'm going to dive us into a deep topic here, but I think it's one that's important to talk about, which is cultural appropriation.
Mm.
Where is
Okay.
the line in having a Chinese persona for you, or for anybody who has let's talk about cultural appropriation is basically the question.
Okay. I'm not as I'm a little different than a lot of people when it comes to it. I think there's a difference between, I think people should do culture appreciation as well. Learn about the culture, appreciate the culture, don't make a mockery out of the culture. Don't dress up as geishas, don't do things that would be stereotypical. We're still a historical organization, so we kind of want to have that appreciation for the past rather than like kind of joke about it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. But isn't that kind of a fine line? I mean, what if you're dressing as a geisha because you appreciate that part of the culture? I mean, is part of it educating yourself and knowing really what you're doing and not
Yeah.
just having it as a costume?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Because I find that we had a set of royals in the mid realm who had what was it? Was it Japanese persona?
Yeah.
And a lot of people were emulating it, and there was a concern among some people. I didn't really voice it, but some other people who were concerned, like they're all diving into having a Japanese persona without taking the time and energy to appreciate what that meant.
So a lot of people now are getting into Tang Dynasty in China, which is the beautiful wrap dresses. And a lot of people are like, I know in Meridia's, a lot of people are jumping into Minoan right now. But it's kind of similar to that. As long as you're like doing it correctly and not making a joke of it, I don't see a problem with it, honestly, because Tang Dynasty garb is beautiful.
Yeah.
What does it look like? Can you describe it?
Tang Dynasty. So it's a wrap dress. It wraps all the way around your body and ties in the front. There's usually a gauze or under with a cross cut like this, and then it like comes up and wraps. It's just a wrap dress that goes over the chest.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, we have a couple people in the mid realm who've worn them. So, as a fighter, did women fight back then?
I mean, I'm sure there were. I don't do as much research on that. I've kind of been focusing on my fighting specifically rather than the research behind it.
Okay. No, that's cool. I mean, I'm just curious. Like some people dive whole hog into their personas. Like I know one fighter who made a period appropriate helm for his persona, but he couldn't see anything in it. But he was like, what my persona would have worn, and I was like, dude, you need to see, right? So
yeah,
I just wasn't sure how deep you dove into Song's persona.
So like my bio says, I took like a 4.5-year break in the middle of everything, 2 years before COVID. I left for a while and came back. So I was a little bit more into the research before I left. And since I've been back, I've mainly been focused on my fighting training.
Yeah.
So that's where
Why, yeah. Why did you leave the SCA and then why did you come back?
A couple of reasons. There was some issues. I had to move back to East Tennessee and help with family. I had some issues that I needed to work out outside of the SCA, and my headspace wasn't there for the SCA at the time.
Okay, yeah. Well, what made you want to come back? Because a lot of people leave and they never come back.
I missed it, and I was in a good headspace. I was helping out family. I was a lot better financially. I was out of the situation that I was in before, but I came back with a different mindset and a different goal for my SCA life.
Okay, so what was that goal?
The new goal, it's to have fun and to kind of inspire people by being a positive energy. Because old Song was kind of negative and she was always trying to fight against something, but coming back, it's like, I'm fighting wise, I'm fighting to be the best that I can be. My goal as an SCA fighter is to be a threat to anyone on the field.
Okay.
And are you succeeding in that?
I'm working on it.
I've
won a couple of tournaments since then.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. How have you found it being a female fighter in the SCA? What's that been like?
It started out that I felt like some people weren't taking me seriously, but I felt like I had to prove myself. So when I first started fighting, I would travel an hour and a half one way to learn how to fight because I loved my group, but I wasn't taken as seriously as guys that were joining. So I drove an hour and a half and I'm like, teach me this. And that was with Jarl Alanon and Duke Seth and Nias and things like, and people like that in Meridies. And they just kind of like took me under the wing and they're like, okay, here you go. And they gave me tools and I started running with it and practicing with them. And coming back to the SCA, I had a basic, and in some cases there is some mansplaining that happens. Like there's a story about the flat snap that I'll post all the time on my Facebook. It's people who think they're helping but they're not. So they'll like come up to you and just start explaining stuff to you like you don't know what you're doing.
What's a flat snap?
So it's a throw. You have to kind of like serve it like this. What had happened was I also fight in the EMP, and I was down in Florida for an event, and I was learning from someone. They're like, learn how to throw the flat snap from this position rather than your normal position. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there throwing it, trying to get my body to work on it. This dude comes up to me and goes, no. Let me show you how to do it. I'm like, no, I'm working on something specific. Thanks, but no thanks. He's like, no, let me show you how to do it. I have the best flat snap and the fastest flat snap there is. And I'm like, no, thank you, but no thanks. I'm working on something specific, but I appreciate it. No, let me show you how to throw the flat snap. It's the best flat snap and the fastest flat snap you've ever seen. I'm like, fine. So mind you, when I learned how to fight an A-frame, and I was learning how to fight from a different position. You can't see me. I was learning how to fight from a different position. And he's like, what you do is you just get an A-frame, which I'd already been training for 3 years under Seth and Alanon. And I was like, you realize I trained with Duke Seth, right? And he's like, oh, I know, Seth, but mine's the fastest flat snap and the best flat snap you've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, thanks. He's like, see, it's just quick click. And I'm like, thanks. So I just walk off. Comes up to me the next day. He's like, see, it's just a quick flick. He did that 4 times to me.
Coming?
4.
Oh my gosh.
4 different times within 2 days.
So how's your flat snap now? I bet it's
That's
awesome.
pretty good. But now, like a lot of people know that story, and they'll just come up to me and go, I hear you need work with your flat snap.
So you talked about an A-frame for where both of us are not fighters at all. So what I guess I want to know the basics of what an A-frame is, but also what if you had a student in fighting, what is
Yeah.
your approach to fighting, especially as a woman in the SCA?
I would honestly, so me being a woman I'm not like most women. My body's not built like most women. I'm built like an inverted triangle. So I don't have hips. So I can't throw from my hips. I have to throw from my shoulders and chest and core like a male would. So you kind of have to like look at the fighter and look at their body type, because yeah, I had someone send a fighter to me one time who was female, but she was also 6 feet tall. I'm 5'2". So male and female, it all depends on your body type, not your genetics and not your biology. So it all depends on like how your body's built on how you're going to throw the shots the best. So if I have someone that's built like me, I'm better at teaching them how I throw things. I can also show other people that are taller than me how I throw certain shots. Like I have shots that come in like this, but it's going to land differently than I throw them. And same with the person that was 6 feet tall. If she tries to throw this shot, she's not going to land in the same place I do, because there's such a height difference and a body difference, because she has hips, I don't have hips. As for A-frame, there's different styles of fighting. A-frame is you have your sword and your shield like this in an A position. You have like Bellatrix, where you have your sword hand back and your shield in front of you, and then you have Oldcastle, where it's kind of going down your back. And there's a couple of other ways, other styles to work with. Oh, and then there's High Guard, where your sword's up over your shield. So there's different ways of fighting, different styles, and it's all geographic and who you learn from. And sometimes you have to pick and choose what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
So does A-frame, that's the style you were taught? Is that the style that
Yeah.
you fight best with?
It's the style I'm most aggressive with. I've been learning a lot of Bellatrix and following Duke Paulo Bellatrix, some of his videos, and some people who learned under him, to be able to do that style as well. So I'm kind of working on both styles and incorporating both styles in my fighting.
Yeah. What do you think needs to happen to encourage more women to be fighters in the SCA?
Don't treat them like tokens.
What do you mean by that? Can you give examples?
Yeah. So I had a friend, and it was like, Song is one of the best female fighters I've seen. I'm like, okay, but how do I compare to Bob over there? Saying I'm a good female fighter, I don't necessarily want to be a good female fighter. I want to be a good fighter.
Yeah.
Because being one of the better female fighters isn't going to help me along my path. I need to be one of the better fighters, but also having that representation of females helps other people. So some female fighters need to see female fighters fighting, say, I can do that too.
Yeah.
But we don't need to be treated like tokens.
Yeah. Yeah. To be put in a separate category.
Yeah. Also, another example, I was watching this Zoom class about female fighters in Atlantia, and they were talking about pointing out that we're the only female fighters adds a lot more stress than people realize. Like if I'm fighting in Crown, it's harder saying, you're representing us all. We want you to win. You're going to be the first female knight female queen by her own hand in this kingdom. And that adds so much stress.
Yeah. No pressure. No pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like being the only Black person who the firm has ever hired,
Yeah.
Yeah. No pressure. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
All right, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about squatting knights.
That's what I was just going to go to. Yes, we want to hear this story.
So it started after COVID, because I was just coming back, and I was at Bacon Bash 2021. And over COVID, I picked up powerlifting because I realized I was actually pretty strong. At the time, the most I'd ever had on my back, but I had reverse bands on it, was 441 for a barbell. I was national champion in 2021 for powerlifting SPF. And I come back to the SCA and everybody knows I'm doing powerlifting and stuff. And Sir Jean-Claude in Alabama goes, I bet you could bench press Legio over there. And I'm like, I probably can't bench press him, but I could probably squat him. Like, he's like, you should squat him. And Legio's like, no, you're not allowed to squat me. No. So I was just making a joke, and I went up to a dude. I'm like, Legio won't let me squat him. And I just made a pouty face. And they just started chanting, squat, 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 squat. And so now Earl Ranver taught me how to fireman carry someone. So we put Legio on my back and I squatted him. And then at my next event, I squatted Sir Jean-Claude and my now knight Connell. I squatted them. And then it just became a thing that people found. That's just like my stupid squire trick, is I squat knights. So I've squatted knights, and I squatted Duke Sean and Artemisia, a bunch of Trimerians, Atlanteans, Meridians, some that are from the West but live other places now.
Well, now we got to get some Middle Kingdom knights on that list, right? So
we
Yeah.
do. Yep.
Yeah.
oh, you do? Okay.
Are you going to Penzic this year?
I am.
Yeah, sorry, we'll drag some over to you. Not too many though. Having been a power lifter in high school and college, we don't want you to strain yourself.
Yeah, I'm kind of limiting it now. So just the small nights for fun.
We
Okay.
need small nights. So speaking of nights, how did you find your night? How did
Yeah.
that relationship come about?
So I've known Connell for a long time. He was around during Song 1.0, and I left. And during the Adopt a Jock thing that Duchess Maisie was doing, where they
Wait. Okay, go ahead. Tell us what Adopt a Jock is, because I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's a great program that Duchess Maisie down in Trimaris came up with. It pairs a costumer with a fighter who wouldn't necessarily have the best garb, and like pairs them so they'll have like either nice garb or nice fighting gear, fighting clothes. And
That's a great idea.
It is. And like I was making my own, but I was making tunics that were falling apart at the seams. And I put in my application, and he snagged my application for his wife, Gwenvin. They're also in Meridies, and I came down and did a fitting and had a fighter practice. And that was August 2021. And September 2021, he asked me, and I said, hey, I'm just coming back. Give me a whole year. Like, give me a whole year to figure out who Song is coming back into the SCA. And then we'll reevaluate this conversation in a year. And he's like, okay. So that's what I did. I took a whole year. I traveled around, and I fought and I learned from everybody. But everything in my mind was like, yeah, Connell's your knight. Yeah, Connell's your knight. So I came back to him exactly a year after the day he asked me. And I'm like, hey, you asked me a question a year ago. Can we reevaluate that? And so we talked about it, and I squired to him in November of last year.
And how's that going?
Great.
Yeah.
We really feed off each other's energy, and it's great.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to be his squire, to have that knight squire relationship? How do you define it? What does it mean to you?
He's a great support. He's my voice in the knight circle, and he's got my back. He's also a mentor.
When you say he's your voice, what do you mean?
He's the one, when my time comes to be spoken for in the knight circle, he is my representation in that knight circle.
Okay.
How far away do you live from each other? Do you get to see him often?
No. We live 5.5 hours away.
Oh man.
Yeah, I live in the far northeast corner of Tennessee. Like, I literally play in Atlantia and Meridies. But he's in Alabama.
So how do you guys keep the relationship going then?
We met Facebook message a lot. I bugged the shit out of him.
That was when I talked to Tiberius. He was talking about he and his knight text each other like every day. And I was like, what? My apprentices don't text me every day. I'm sad.
Yeah.
Oh my
I-
gosh, you know what? Oh my gosh, I failed miserably. I failed so bad, but I guess it's good because there's more people here. But hey, for everybody who's here, just so you know what the point of Simply SCAdian No Title Required is. Simply SCAdian No Title Required is a show about regular folks in the SCA. Those are the people we talk to. We do not want to talk to barons, baronesses, former royals, or peers. We want to talk to the people who actually are just real, not like peers aren't. I'm a peer. I think I'm kind of real and genuine, but we want
Yes,
to
you're
talk
real and genuine.
to the real people in the SCA who keep the fires burning, who keep the motor running in the SCA. And so if you have nominations of anybody to be a guest on our show, you can send us a message. Just go to our Facebook page. We have pinned a Google form. So, okay. So now that I did that, I can't believe I'm just thrown off because it's Jaleesa,
Well, see,
not Lucas.
So you remembered to hit recording, but you didn't remember to do that. But that's okay. That's okay. You can tell people now. Yeah.
Okay. So what does it mean to you to be a squire, though? What is it about that relationship that makes your SCA experience better?
That's a hard question. This is actually my second time being a squire. And it's showing people that I am serious on the path. For me, I'm always willing to learn from everyone, and everyone knows that. I'm always going up to, I'll fight everyone. That's why I travel so much. Like I said, I went to meet Duke Sean in Salt Lake City. I've been to Alabama, Florida. I go to Virginia, North Carolina. I go all over Atlantia and all over Meridians. I used to come to Mid-Realm when I lived in Clarksville. But it means that I am a student and I am wanting to learn and to grow as a fighter and to be on that path to knighthood, to show people that this is my end goal. Because yeah, I can be a stick jock, but it really shows people that this is where my dedication lies.
Yeah, yeah. What happened with the first when you squire the first time? What happened with that?
We didn't have the most healthy relationship, and it was best for us to both part ways.
Okay, yeah, that happens. That happens. Yeah,
I
so many people I know.
I was an apprentice to someone, and I gave back my green belt. That's part of Zeus rules. I talk about the fact that I was so focused on wanting to be a laurel that the whole relationship with that laurel was toxic as heck. So finally I said, F the laurels. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be it anymore. Gave back my green belt, gave up the dream of being a peer because they weren't the right fit for me. He's a very great person, but he wasn't the right fit for me. And it wasn't until that moment that I sat down and decided the only way I could become a peer was to forget the SCA and just become a better person, right? Become a knight. That ideal that we have of knighthood is who I wanted to be. And so I started working on that. And when I finally got my laurel a year later, it was like, whatever. Like, it's important to me and it matters, but it was more the journey that I went through. And if you have a toxic relationship, not saying that one is toxic and the other isn't, like both of you, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
The only solution to that is to get out.
Yeah, and I held on too long, and that's part of the reason I left the SCA. It kind of messed with my mental health because I got way too into it. And sometimes you have to leave the SCA to find the SCA.
Yes. That's a quote. That's the quote of the night.
Yeah, that's a beautiful sentiment. And it's very true. Very true.
So you're a bard as well. people, when you posted that you were coming on the show, started talking about you as a singer. So what got you into the bardic arts? How did that happen?
I've been singing since I was 2 years old. I did beauty pageants growing up. I was in choir band, and I was actually a vocal major in college. That's how we came up with the name Song. I was looking through Chinese surnames and I found the name Song, and I'm like, that's me. So I started writing Disney filks, and so that's what I'm known for. Is I'm known for Disney filks or songs just about fighting.
Okay, all right. You said that you used to play an instrument. What did you play?
I played the art. In college, I played the clarinet.
Okay, I played the flute, so but that's all right. We'll take you anyway.
I played the Chinese violin, which is called the erhu.
Oh, well, tell us about that.
It's a two-string. It's a two-string. It looks like a hammer with strings, and the bow sits between the two strings. And I took lessons for about 4 months while I was in China.
Mm.
And it makes a beautiful sound. They're in the Chinese opera. That's how I kind of came up with my first persona. And so yeah, it's called an erhu.
Great, great. I'd love to hear you play that. Do you play and sing and accompany yourself on it?
I don't bring it out as much anymore. There is a bard in Atlantia that's trying to get me to bring it back out, but it's weird. I never have time for it because when they're playing instruments, it's during the day, and I'm on the field from the time I wake up until pretty much feast.
Well, that's so different from the mid-realm, because in the mid-realm, the fight, I mean, some of them would, but usually they'll fight until 4 o'clock and then they're done. Like at 4 o'clock,
Yeah.
the hay bales start getting torn down, and
Well,
Meridian
4 o'clock,
starts at 5.
yeah, at 4 o'clock, we've got to flip the room for court usually.
Yeah.
You know, what's ever coming next. Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope you get back to it. It sounds like a beautiful instrument.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely known for Disney filks. I write a lot of songs about fighting set to Disney music.
Oh, well, you got to tell us about your favorite.
I wrote one and I won Kingdom Bard last year for Meridia's. It was I'll make a man out of you. And it's I'll make a champ out of you. And it was inspired by this weekend I had in Atlantia at basic Atlantean war training, where I was kind of sat down and talked to about we want to help you along your path, and we think you can be a killing machine. So we want to mold you into this fighting killing machine, and we think you can be a champ. So I'll make a champ out of you. But that's where it came from. And then, like, you know, the part where it's like where the different parts are speaking in it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that one at all. Which Disney movie is it from? I'm sorry.
Mulan.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's
Yeah, I'm there. Okay.
I'm a Mulan fan. That's one of my favorites.
All right.
There's a part in it where like the different characters are singing now only the filks in my head right now, of course, but it's in the middle is like I hope they don't see right through me, like where she sings that part. I took notes that Knights had given me over the past year and wrote those as lines in there on things that I need to work on, and then the chorus itself have knightly virtues.
Oh, I'd love to hear you sing that, perform that sometime.
So do you go to a lot of bardic circles at events in the evening?
I do when they're at nighttime.
Right. All right, so we had a request from one of our viewers. They wanted you to spell the name of that instrument.
ERHU.
Okay, that's the way it sounded. How logical. All right, and Candace wanted us to know that you are really amazing at glass etching.
So
Yeah.
you are so multi-talented. I can't believe all the things you do in the SCA. You're amazing.
Oh, I picked up glass etching when I was a freshman in college. I was going through the Dollar Tree because that's what I would do when I get bored, is just like walk through the Dollar Tree. And they had this As Seen on TV stand, and I found this like engraver. And I'm like, I don't know why I need this, but apparently I need this. So I bought it. and then I got snowed into my dorm room. And so all I had was like this vase and this engraver. So I just started doodling on it, and I'm like, hey, this is actually pretty fun. So I started doing it. Yeah. So that's how I got that, and I started working on it and kind of perfecting it and trying to, yeah.
What sort of things have you made in the SCA with the etching?
So I've donated a lot to like royal gift exchanges of like little taster glasses with like kingdom arms on them.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I've done mugs. I've done wine glasses. I've done vases.
What do we know about glass etching in period? Is there a lot of information about that?
So Duke Uther in Glenauburn, he does a lot of research into it. I do it more for like gifts and stuff. I don't do research behind it, but I'm sure there was, because it just uses a diamond tip scribe, and I'm sure they had something similar to that, because there are proof of etchings. But Duke Uther has a lot more research on that. I was just kind of doing it for gifts.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah. What is something that you still want to explore in the SCA that you'd still like to learn to do?
I don't know. For a while, I was just like, I just want to try everything. So I tried. So anytime I would get like an itch to try something new, I would just do it. So I don't know if there's anything really specific that I want to learn that I haven't at least tried.
Mhm. What were some of the other things that you've tried along the way?
I've done a little bit of costuming. That was fun. Wood burning, woodworking, not much leatherwork. I make a lot of shields because I keep breaking my shields.
How do you break your shield? Are they not metal? Do you have wooden shields? What?
I have wood shield.
Okay.
I use 3/8 inch Baltic birch lined in canvas. So with as much as I was training during Song 1.0, I was fighting 3 times a week. And Duke Alenon and Duke Seth don't exactly hit light.
That is something that I've heard about the fighters down south, that they especially Atlantia, that
Yeah.
they seem to hit harder. Was that a problem for you, or is that just a false rumor that the Midrealmers and other kingdom people have told me over the years?
So I fight in both Meridies and Atlantia. They are completely different circuses. Meridies is the lightest hitting kingdom in the known world. Atlantia is the hardest hitting kingdom in the known world. It's not necessarily the hardest hitting. I don't think anyone hits excessive. No one's like out to hurt you. You're out to kill your friends, not hurt your friends. And you have to hit them a little bit harder for them to call it, because it's not exactly stick tag. And a lot of other places play it more as stick tag rather than like, would this have gone through chainmail?
Okay, what is stick tag?
Just like tagging someone, like touching them
Tag,
with
you're it.
rattan. Yeah, tag, you're out. You're dead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you're in these two kingdoms that are so different, is it hard for you to recalibrate, or, to make sure you're hitting appropriately depending on where you are?
It's not necessarily hard. Sometimes I do have to like work on, I have 2 different sticks. I have a stick that I use in Meridians and a stick that I use in Atlantia, because I know what stick they'll call. I don't really change much else. I'll throw a little bit harder, but I don't have to throw excessive. I don't have that many people say you're not hitting hard enough. I have a few, but not that many. Because I just don't really have that issue. But in Meridies, we take a lot lighter and there's probably a few less injuries because we hit lighter, but we have other injuries because we're using more of our body. Because we're working on speed and precision rather than power. So it definitely trains. I try to train the same. I just change my stick, which is probably not the most recommended, but it works for me.
We have a comment. Joe LaCroix wants us to all know that he loves your hair.
Aw,
Yeah.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Joe. So Merlantia is a state of mind, is what Yasmin just commented as well.
that is Queen Yasmin of Atlantia.
Yasmin, welcome.
So Merlantia, so where I do play in both kingdoms, I like to claim both pretty much. I live in Meridies and I'm in the Shire of Nancy Derwithen, but a lot of Atlantean stuff is closer. And I get a lot of good training in there because I can drive 2 hours rather than 5 hours to an event. So I'll usually do that. So Merlantia, I just like combine the two, Meridies and Atlantia, make Merlantia.
What other differences do you see in the two kingdoms, just in terms of SCA culture?
They're just two different. They're two different kingdoms. Like their history's different. Their where they came from is different. Like Atlantia came from the east, but Meridies came from Aidenville.
Mm.
So they have a different upbringing and a different set on life. Atlantia has larger households than Meridies. Meridies has households, but it's a little bit more solo work.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So one of the things you talked about in your bio is that you cook. But I'm assuming because you're so focused on fighting right now that doesn't mean that you're in the kitchen doing feasts at all. Do you miss time in the kitchen?
So Song 1.0 did 2 fundraiser lunches and a feast. That was actually my last event before I left the SCA. Was I did my first full feast, and I'm actually cooking breakfast for Giants Dance coming up on June 10th. I'm cooking breakfast for the event.
Great. Now, all I do at Feast is eat it and appreciate it. But what is the biggest challenge in putting together a feast? Is it getting all the dishes to come out at the right time, or keeping everything hot, or what's the biggest challenge?
Definitely time management. I had a great mentor, Mistress Andrea, in Crimson River in Meridies. She kind of took me under her wing and taught me a lot of stuff about how to manage time, where to buy stuff. But time management is always going to be your biggest issue with Feast. Make sure that you don't have an hour between courses, because I've seen Feast, being in the SCA since like 97, you see that happen. You got to make sure everything's cooked, make sure everything's edible. Yeah, time management's definitely the biggest.
So do you miss it?
I do. I mean, I did a feast I helped with Feast in October. I ended up getting extensor tendonitis in my ankle at War of the Wings, and I wasn't allowed to fight for a couple of weeks, but I fought anyways that day. But I couldn't do pickups because I'm like, I dropped to my knees and like my ankle bent. So I'm like, I'm done for the day. I'm going to be smart and not go out here and do pickups. So I went to the kitchen and just helped. I also helped with breakfast that day. At my local events, I can probably do more feasts in the future, because I'd rather help out my shire than be out there fighting and not helping my shire run an event.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you've fought in Crown. What is that like? And the whole time you're fighting, are you thinking, I could be queen, you know? What was that like? How many times have you fought in Crown?
I fought twice.
Okay.
I was 2 and out both times. I get in my head way too much because it's that whole thing of people coming up to you going, you're representing us all. I'm rooting for you. You're going to be the biggest, you're going to be the first queen by our own hand. And I'm not a horrible fighter. I'm not the best fighter, but I'm not a horrible fighter. And anyone can have a good day. If I was queen, that'd be awesome. But I keep getting in my head during crown because it's a big deal and everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
So like you get the butterflies and nervousness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then every inch of technique is gone, completely gone. It's like, why did I even do that? Like, that was stuff that I did when I started fighting in 2013.
Yeah.
No, I
I
have.
can relate because when I play solo, sometimes I play recorder and I get that stage fright, and it's just like, it's just terrible. My heart starts beating and then I can't catch my breath, and then I'm, huffing and puffing, and yeah. Do you think you'll get over that as you fight more in Crown?
I think so. I'm going to take a little break because I'm dealing with some mundane issues. My granddad's 88 years old. So I'm kind of focused on him and not on my training. So once I can get back and get into a prep, I'll do much better. I'll feel more comfortable getting back into Crown.
Yeah. Did you let yourself think though about what your reign might be like, what you'd like to focus on if you were queen?
I would love to have a Chinese reign just because I have research in it. And sharing knowledge of like things that happen in China and Chinese history. It's something I nerd out about.
Yeah.
So my question is, from one former powerlifter to a current powerlifter, what lessons can you take or have you taken from that intensely focused training? How does that carry over to the SCA?
It carries over really well. When I was prepping for my first crown, I turned my training into kind of similar that I did my powerlifting training. I worked with, his name was Frank Phillips. He's out of Nashville area. He was a 2-time world champion for SPF. They kind of I met them randomly at a Cracker Barrel, and I'm like, hey, I'm getting into powerlifting. And I just came up with them with so much excitement. And they kind of took me under their wing and started training me like that. So when I came back to the SCA and I wanted to like focus on my training that way, I kind of put it in the same sense as like, I am here to train. I'm here to get better. I'm here to learn from you and to take your knowledge and make it what suits me. So the way Frank squats, he squats in a squat suit, where I squat raw with wraps. So it's different, but he can still give me tips that'll help me along my journey as a powerlifter. And the same thing with fighting. It's like you take bits and pieces of things that work from other people and you put it into things that work for you. And you just kind of have to, once you're in a prep, you kind of have to amp up the intensity.
Yeah. Jalicia, do you have any other questions?
Yeah. Penzic is coming up. My husband and I just had our first Penzic conversation, So what's Penzic going to be like for you? And what's like a typical Penzic day for you? I know fighting all the time, but what are you going to be doing anything special this Penzic?
This is my first Penzic.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding. Wow.
Version.
Oh no. I think I've given up trying to explain it to people because you really can't.
No.
Yeah.
And everyone's experience is so different.
Yeah, but golf is sort of similar in the daily structure is very similar to Penzic. It's just way more people.
Yeah, I'll be there during War Week. I won't be there during Peace Week. I'm getting ready to start a new job in 2 weeks, but I will be on the field most of the time. I've got some people from out of kingdom that I was supposed to owe fights to at Gulf Wars, and I didn't. So I'm going to hit them up for pickups at War. I'm going to enter the tournaments, all the tournaments that I can. I'm also retaining for their Majesties of Atlantia.
Okay. And are you going to squat nights at Penzic?
If I'm asked to, I will.
I think we should turn that into a fundraiser, don't you think so?
Yeah, I really think so. But
yeah.
But I don't want Song to blow out her back.
No.
I already have 2 ruptured discs.
Oh,
okay.
No, we don't want you to hurt yourself.
We'll just let the knights show themselves off and they can squat each other. I would do. So we have Tori Paris Smith just said, so proud of my song. Candace says, Vivat Atlantia. And Adela says, and the Shire loves song. You have got some really awesome fans out there watching tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this with us. Final question, 10 minutes till. So we got some little more time to kill, but hopefully this will take a while. What can the SCA do better?
What can the SCA do better is stay off social media. ESCA has not been the best thing for the SCA. A lot of things have happened in ESCA. So if you can separate ESCA from the SCA, that's going to make the SCA happier. Also, find your happy. As long as people find their happy in the SCA, happiness radiates, and happiness is contagious. So if you're happy about something, then you're going to make someone else happy about that. But if you come off pissed off about something, that energy is going to feed into other people. So if we can remember what the game's about, that's what makes the SCA better. And we just kind of have to get back to that.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Surround yourself with people that give you positive energy. The more negative energy is around you, the more negative energy you have. Find something that makes you excited to show it to newcomers. Be the person that newcomers need. Be the person you needed as a newcomer.
That is a really great call.
Yeah, those are all really great ideas.
Did I ever tell you that I was called a scruffy nerf herder once? They literally told me that they were so glad I got better garb because I looked like a scruffy nerf herder when I first joined the SCA.
No, I did not know that. And that's so appropriate for today because it's Star Wars Day.
May the 4th be with you. That's
yes,
right.
yes. How bad was your garb? And then I'll tell you a bad garb story.
Oh, my garb was bad. My garb was like Little House on the Prairie.
I got the bright idea to put a wide thing of trim like right down the middle of this tunic. But did I measure? No, so I just kind of sewed it, took it to different events I'm sewing. And of course, it looked like the Cauga River once I put it on. Yeah, that was bad. That's when I realized, okay, Jalicia, you gotta get serious about this,
That's when I realized I'm not a sewer. What about you, Song? What's the worst piece of garb you ever had?
So I made a Dell that looks similar to this, that's blue, and it was beautiful. But the first Dell I ever made was actually a Bates's. So it was a Song Dynasty, like straight lace coat. I didn't know how to roll anything. So you could see like the edges of the fabric on the outside, and you could see like where my line went like this with the sewing machine, and it was not matching thread.
Yeah, early efforts. That's what I call those, early efforts.
And that's and I got into what is it? Host-a-jock? What was it? Adopt-a-jock, which I love.
Yeah, no, it's
an idea too.
Program.
Does it still exist? Is it still around?
Yeah.
What? I've never
it's on Facebook.
Heard of this. Okay. Is it just for Meridies?
No. Duchess Macy's and Trimaris.
All right. So is it just in Trimaris then?
No, it's all over the United States.
All right. That's it, everybody. When you're done watching this, go to Facebook and look for Adopt a Jock. That's fascinating. All right. Any other questions, Jalicia?
No, this has been really great, Song. Thanks so much. You're really fascinating. I can't wait to meet you in person. I hope I run into you at PINSIC.
I'll be at Land Royal.
Okay, great.
We'll find you. I have a bunch of Bard friends in there. They'll drag you out. I'll talk to Johan and Rory, and we'll make sure that they drag you out to the Bardic Circle.
Johan and Atlantia?
Yeah, and Rory on Coup.
Johan lives like 40 minutes away from me.
When you
there
see
you go.
him, give him a big hug for me. I stole his mug. Did you ever hear of that story?
That's what he
Mug?
said.
That was the mug.
He messaged me and told me about that. Yeah, he was the first Atlantean I ever befriended.
I didn't.
I met him at a Bardic Circle.
So he abandoned his mug, callously just abandoned a mug at an event when I was in Atlantia. So I saved it and it traveled around the world with me. It went up to Michigan, it went to Gettysburg, it took all these road trips and then became my apprentice. I got a little green belt for mug and everything.
You made the mug your apprentice?
I made the mug my apprentice, yes.
Right.
That's hilarious.
It was the best. All right, we are totally out of time. Song, thank you so much. It's been wonderful meeting with you and talking with you, and we will see you at Penzic.
Yes.
All right, you have been watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. Have a great 2 weeks. We'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Night.
Bye.